Welcome, dear viewers, for our another segment of the Environment Dialogue here at UCTV. That's Uganda Catholic Television here in Zambia. We are here today with wonderful panelists. That's our guests from the ministry. That's I think I don't need to introduce. I don't need to introduce them. They know the above. I know that. Especially the one from the Ministry of Water is old enough, is above 18 to introduce herself. And I know also one who is a climate champion, a young one. Also, she's able to introduce herself. So let me just take this time to introduce my panelists. Let me start from my left-hand side. Please introduce yourself to the viewers.
Thank you. Stuart Ninsiima is my name. I'm an 11-year-old climate justice activist, Youth Go Green Ambassador, climate champion, and I am blessed to have this opportunity.
Wow, thank you, Grace. Thank you for having you. Next to you.
Okay, thank you, Dickenz. I'm glad to be here. My name is Kinobe, Nakatudde. I'm water officer with the Ministry of Water and Environment, and I'm also a co-founder and host of the Youth Career Talk Show.
Wow, you've heard from my panelists. They are people who have been there in the society. They have been interacting with different people from the society, including the young, the old. Always that I say that there are some people who are in their evening stages, others in afternoon, others in the morning. That's why we have these beautiful panelists today here with us. And you know that today our topic is water conservation for sustainability. And I know that with these panelists, they will tell us a lot because Grace as herself as a climate champion, she has her experience. She has moved over this country. She has moved it out of this country. And even with Vicky, don't see her that she works only at the ministry, but she has been dealing with the young people. She has been dealing with the old. They have experience and they have moved and they have a lot of things that they have been doing in our community. And today is the day that we are discussing because you know that water has become an issue in our country. That's why one man came up with an idea that water is life. And today we are going to hear from my panelists. Let me start with Vicky. Vicky, when they talk about water conservation as a ministry, or ministry, other Ministry of Water and Environment, what do we mean and what can you tell us about? Just tell us about water conservation, because someone out there wants to know really why should we conserve water, or why should a person in Karamoja conserve water, or why should really the ministry intervene through policies about water conservation? Please just talk to the viewers.
Thank you, Dickenz. Before I even proceed, you yourself should just say that it's life.
Yes.
So if you're talking about conservation, if you're conserving something, it's something that preserves your life.
Yes.
In simple English terms, conservation is preserving. You're making sure that you have something today, you have something in the future, and it's always there. So the ministry aims on the sound utilization and sustainable use of the water and environment resources of this country. That's the target, that's the goal. So to ensure that all Ugandans have access to water, that's what the ministry is doing. Because water is life. And for example, if I'm to go to the Sustainable Development Goals, we have water as Sustainable Development Goal 6. But if you're to look through the 17 SDGs, you'll see that water stands at the center. If we don't have water, we are not going to have no poverty. If we don't have water, we are not going to have quality education. Because there are instances in areas whereby a child or even a student, even someone at campus, they will not be able to go to school because they don't have water to bathe. They don't have water to wash their clothes. We shall not have the good health and well-being. Water is life. Every time we go to hospitals, but you need water, they put drips of water on us. So I guess you see the basis. Without water, we don't have life.
Yeah, then what are some of the interventions that you've talked about, like the school outreach? What are some of the interventions that the ministry really has tried to come up with, especially to do with schools? Especially now, you have seen schools in Karamoja. Some of them go to school. When you look at their legs, it's still that looking colored, and you find that, has this person really bathed, or has he used that? But we find them. And I know that Grace will tell us that experience when we come to her. What are some of the interventions that the viewers want to know? Because someone out there will say that, how the ministry is doing nothing. You know, for us, we the young people, we love lamenting a lot. We are still in the Old Testament doing lamentation. When God has moved away from there, we are already in the New Testament. Okay, Vicky, let me give you time to explain to the viewers.
Okay, so you've talked about schools and some of the programs that the ministry is doing. The ministry is implementing different projects, but still the ministry is not working as a standalone, if I'm to say. We have parastatals, we have regional offices. For example, we have the water management zones that were established in 2011, and this is all work that the ministry is trying to do to ensure that every Ugandan has access to a water service that they would need. Instead of someone having to get a water issue and they come to Luzira, where the headquarters are, in the different regions, you have offices. So that if you have water issues, environment issues, you know where you can go. For example, there are WASH programs in school through the different projects. So far, the ministry has implemented, for example, we have the Eureka projects that enhancing climate resilience of communities, climate change through catchment-based integrated management of water and related resources. Through this project, you find that we are working with communities. Communities not only here in Kampala, but we are looking at communities far in other areas. For example, we have in northern Uganda, that's the Aswa catchment. We have the Maziba catchment, there is the Aoja catchment. So in these places, you find that the schools are there, they are school-going children. Some of these are trained on how to conserve the water, and still there are projects where they are going to provide water stations, let me say the boreholes, where someone will have water to use. But then still, we would not want to so much look at the ministry. You talked about school-going kids whereby someone looks like they have not bathed.
Yeah.
It's not the role of the ministry to come and ensure a bit of personal hygiene. Even scenarios, there are people who have water, but not.
But you've heard of people crying, government to yambe.
But government won't come and bathe, you know? Like some things, just like we are always, should I say, shooting shots at the apex, people at the top. But sometimes what are you doing down? I'll provide the water, the ministry is going to provide the water, the ministry is going to implement a project. But then they'll even give out ads calling people to come. But if you don't come, how will you expect them to come and pick you from your home to come and gain? But usually these opportunities are out there, but sometimes even it's on a personal initiative. Sometimes people are not really interested. That's where I would say that if people get to hear some of these programs, you come and be part of it, because they will not do it alone. The ministry can't do things alone.
That's
just
true.
like SDG 7 says, partnerships are key. Without collaborations and partnerships, we are all not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And this is not only for the water, it's even like the environment. In this environment, everything is in the environment. Without the environment, we are not here. So people should come and be part of the works of the ministry. Because still, if I'm to bring a concept, we have a concept that's called the Integrated Water Resources Management. This is a process where we ensure that we have coordinated development and management of water, land, and other related resources. And it's based on Dublin principles. And one of the principles says that water development should be done in a participatory approach. Meaning, if we don't have people, if we are not all together, if stakeholders are not coming on board, other stakeholders, despite the work that the ministry could do, we may not thrive. So people should come and work together.
Wow. Victoria has told you that the SDG 17 states that partnership and collaboration. And this time we have the SDG run, and that's about partnership and collaboration. That's SDG 17. Please don't miss that. And if you want to partner with the Ministry of Water, the door is open. There are any offices in Luzira, and Vicky is inviting you that please, we need to work together. It's not the work of the ministry alone, but it's everyone's responsibility. As I think the SDG slogan said that leave no one behind. So the ministry is not leaving anyone behind. That's why Grace is here with us. So Grace, when we talk about water conservation, what does it mean to you as a child?
Okay, thank you for that wonderful question.
Yeah.
and giving me the opportunity to share my mind despite my age.
Yeah.
Water conservation, or let's say water, actually means everything. Because without water, you all said that there is no life.
Yeah.
And scientists say that you can live a month without food, but you can't live more than 7 days without water. And the human brain consists of 70% of water. So if you are not drinking water, the water will be, let's say, dripping and you will die. Allow me paint a bigger picture.
Yes, please.
Globally, out of 100% of the world's water, this statistic left me hanging. Like, it left me shocked that only 1% is what the world uses. 97% is salty water from the seas and oceans, while the other 2% is stuck in glaciers and, let's say, ice sheets. Personally, I was told, Grace, don't waste water. Grace, close that up. Grace, do you know the water bill? Grace, what? But saving water is not only about saving money. You find that we do not actually value what we have. If nothing is done, you will have the water today being blessed, and you won't have it tomorrow.
That's true.
So we are actually blessed to see that we have water. You find that personally, when I got a chance to visit Karamoja, my perspective changed. I was looking at water, I'm like, wow. So people are bathing in water that could pass for sewage, so green. And they didn't care, it's all they have. Adults and children, they're using it for drinking water. They're using it to cook food. At the same time, using it to bathe. Children were shooting birds for food. Wow. And boiling leaves with salt because they couldn't afford a meal. When we look at these things, we all know that we're facing a problem of water scarcity, where you find that there is no enough water for people to use. And this leads to food shortage. When there is food shortage, you find that children are getting malnourished. Sometime back, over 8,000 children died due to malnutrition. It leads to diseases because of poor hygiene. It leads to all these things. It leads to children skipping school, walking long distances. It's one thing to say that the government is producing the water, but actually, if you check, why would a parent say there is a Numeme bill? Find children are walking and they have to carry 500. You find their parents are depending on that 500 to pay for their water bill. So I think the bill should also reduce a bit. Over 3.6 billion people lack access to proper sanitation.
That's true.
And over 2 billion people lack access to safe drinking water, leading us to over 3.5 million people dying annually due to these problems. So I think it is also left to the policymakers. When we talk about this, we're saying, oh my God, the government is doing nothing, or people say government should help us. And recently I was listening to something on the news, and they were saying that Uganda was given over $400 million. But you ask yourself, where is this going? What are you doing for the people in Karamoja? What are you doing for the last mile people? Sorry to say, but we are belittled too much. That you find that they can't even tell us statistics. They hide the problems of the world they hide, like they are protecting us too much that they can't even tell us these statistics. Why did I start with them? To paint a picture of how bad the crisis is. And we are not gonna address water scarcity when we haven't addressed climate change, because climate change is causing prolonged drought. Climate change is causing famine. And another thing, I talking about water bills, and I said saving water is not only about saving money. When you tell us, do not waste water, What you're telling us what not to do. Why shouldn't we do? There is a child out there who lacks water, and you're not only going to bring it, I'm using my money to pay the water bill, I'm getting on the phone, oh my God, you don't waste water. Why wouldn't you involve children in such making adverts? Why wouldn't you tell us why? To any child watching out there, maybe there is a child who is there and they do not even know how to wash their hands. You're telling them, take shorter showers because the ministry is trying to provide water and you're wasting the water. How will they know? You tell them, excuse me, please, on an advert, use a child because they are more relatable to a child. Tell them.
A good thing Vicky is here.
Yes. You tell them.
Victoria, you've heard what Grace is saying.
You tell them, turn on the tap.
Yes.
Let me give an example of brushing. Turn on the tap, rinse the brush, wet it, then close the tap. Apply some toothpaste. After applying the toothpaste, you brush. Then you rinse your mouth and spit. After that, you still brush again. You know, the tongue, these sides of the teeth. And then, why would you tell me, don't waste water? You haven't even told me how not to waste the water, and why shouldn't I waste the water? Like I said, we are blessed, but tomorrow if nothing is done, we won't have anything. And even, let's say, about leakage. Let's say this is a tap, and I see there is some space for the sink. And then they're like, not even a sink, for the drainage system. And then they're like, oh, you're wasting water. Why not tell them? Or if, let's say, there is a leakage in a sink, let's say home sinks, not outside tap, home sinks, there is a tiny leakage, constant, and anyway, the ministry will pay, or let's say, it's little water. You won't do anything about it. In a month, you would have wasted 50, 20-liter jerry cans, and yet you're saying the government should help us with water, yet you've wasted all that. So if you could teach us, or if I could teach them, because we're different. I believe in our generation, we're different from...
We're already with the ministry, with us.
We're different. And if it won't come from you, we're ready to act.
I like that mindset.
So let's inform the children. And I would have gone back to the policy makers. You're putting the policies, you're implementing the policies, but have you gone ahead to make sure that the people are following the policies? They started the Tuvekavera. My Uganda is not fluent, but something like that. Like, let's get off polythene bags. They started it, they were so energetic, you know, let us stop. They even started, but you find that you're not, before you tell us, get off this, have you provided the alternative? Before you tell someone, do not cut trees, have you made for them briquettes? Before you tell them, do not use charcoal, have you made gas cheaper? Before you tell them it will emit, why not teach them how to make the briquettes? But I don't want to go, of course, right now we're on water. Everything needs water. Water is life, like you said. And so, yes, that is what I would say. Curriculum. If you're not going to teach us, why won't I find it in a school? You find that out of 10, I used to say, people mostly make it okay by saying 1 out of 10, but you find 0 out of 10. And when you instill these statistics in us, it starts empathy. And it forces us to think about our actions. Personally, before I became an activist, I was watching, and I remember crying, I've been guilty, I've been littering. And from that time, I became active. That means if it would start empathy, there is a child out there like me that has the brains like me, that fears God like me, that, let's say, is just a child like me, or an adult like you. You're like, it starts empathy. So I would have done my generation, but if I say that all your ideas, oh, UNWIC, oh, what an environment, or let's say, let's do which other programs are there? You find they're saying all the programs you said, everything, all the regional offices. If you do not involve children in all that, that is what I would appreciate. UNWEC, or let's say the Uganda National Water and Environmental Week, for hosting children. I saw children and giving us the ability to talk despite our age. Youth Go Green. I would like to say thank you. Supporting programs like that, Little Art Soldiers. So all ideas fall short of true sustainability if our ideas are not involved. And I'm talking like a child, but you're saying, someone out there is saying that, oh my God, these are little things, they won't matter. She's just a child talking, she doesn't know what she's saying, she's feeling sorry for her friends. It actually makes a big contribution. And to the children out there, a clean environment and clean water is every child's right. Thank you.
Wow. Dear viewers, you have heard from Grace really what she's telling you. As a child, she's speaking in the perspective of that child who is down there. You've been complaining, you've been disturbing your mom, your dad, you every time wasting water, and you're crying that the government should help us, government to young. But she's here. She's young, but she's coming up with good intervention. And I think now we need also to embrace, as she said, that change starts with you. You is down there. Are you doing something to contribute to our development? Without wasting time, Grace, you spoke about the Uganda Water and Environmental Week, and she gave really good applause to the ministry. So, Vicky, in regards to that, are we going to see again next year a different way that we are reaching out? Especially, she was talking about using the children's voices, using the children in adverts, in water adverts. What are some of the interventions that really under the water management and projects that maybe the ministry is coming out now? Like, for instance, Grace is advocating for the young ones down there, especially explaining, she was sharing her experience in Karamoja, how she felt for those children down there. What are some of the, the water management, maybe projects or interventions, which we are seeing that even next year when we are coming for work, we'll be glad that the children are represented from nursery, primary, secondary, and also those ones who are in universities and tertiary.
Thank you, Dickenz. Thank you, Grace, for saying you are at the ministry, because I was about to ask you, because you were saying you should involve the children. I was about to be like, but this year's Uganda Water and Environment Week, the children were there. So I think that's something that you see what the ministry is doing. And for you happen to be at Luzira, but this is the way it was in all the regions. That's in Fort Portal, in Mbale, all the different works based on the regions, because usually we have those as pre-events before we go to the main week. So children are involved all through. For example, I would say we have, you talked about the briquette making. In some of these projects, for example, the briquette making and all, they take up young people to skill them. So that if someone is going to school, they will go to school, but they can even make briquettes at a certain point, provide to the community, they get money. They are not only getting money, but then they're also conserving the environment. Then they be able to go to school. So children, I would say children most especially, I would say the youth, because usually children are really young. And child labor law and the like. So if you take up a child, it could somehow be painted as child labor.
And I was amazed when I saw the provisional results for census. This recently carried out head count. I saw that the children were making 50.5% of our population. And I was surprised that if now you, the ministry, you grab the grace and you front them, I think Uganda will be another place.
Still about the children and the youth, ministry is very passionate, and it's doing a lot when it comes to capacity building. Like we say, we are the future generation. Grace, me inclusive, the future generation, I'll presume. So there is a lot of capacity building that's going on in the different regions. Usually there are workshops, there are school interventions. we go to schools and children are able to learn, the students, they're able to learn how to plant trees. Because usually we are talking about tree planting, but what about the growing bit? You plant it, but are you making sure that this tree is growing? You have to look at the survival rates. You may plant, then some survive. Are you going to come back and put in more?
That's under the GROW program, the project under the ministry.
So far we have a roots campaign, that's the running out of trees campaign, so we are ensuring that we plant more trees. But if you find most of the projects, for example, the Integrated Water Management and Development Project, through the previous Eureka project, we have an imminent curfew project that's coming up. All of them have a tree growing component. They have a restoration bit. Because as we do these projects, we should not forget we are looking at the water, but then we have climate change, which is so far the most greatest challenge we have in this 21st century. And one of the ways is ensuring restoration, afforestation, and the likes. So all of these, they have a tree growing component in them. Through the outreaches, for example, I talked about we have the Water Resources Institute. At the Water Resources Institute in Entebbe, we are always having capacity building workshops, and I'm sure...
And people don't know about that. And I think maybe even the neighbors in Entebbe, they don't know that there's something happening.
Usually, I would say everyone may not know, but awareness is something that keeps on going. For example, the UWEC started in 2018. But if you are part of the UWEC last year, let me say 2023, you would see that every year the children and the youth participation is bigger. You've seen the regional debates that we did around the different areas. You could see the participation. And here, for example, I was in Arua for the debates. We had the children debating, and I would say I was wowed that most children are now aware of what's happening in the environment. It may not be everyone, because it's really not everyone, but most of them are aware. We are trying to ensure that we bring in climate education. If we are in schools, let them talk about climate education. We are having the environmental clubs that are being set up in schools, but children have to be aware that, okay, like you said, I'm not only not wasting money, not wasting water to ensure I save my parents' money, but it goes back to the environment as well. So you would see in the different regions, for example, in Albert, when you're having the cleanup activities, all these activities, children are involved, so that they know that I'm not only cleaning my environment for the government, but I'm even cleaning it for myself. It contributes to my health. At the end of the day, if I'm not living in a good environment, then I'm getting sick, I'm disturbing like my parents. They are the hospital bills and all. So I would say it's a cycle. It's not only about water, but like I said, at the SDGs, it's at the center. It's a cycle where you go to water, then you go to another thing and the likes. I've talked about for example, the Eureka project. You would see that we had so many young people involved. Usually we shall go and see an area that priority catchment management measures. You check out a hotspot area, but the government will not come and say, okay, we are having this, let's do this and this. Usually people are involved. Youth are key stakeholders in this country. I hope you're aware. And we make up like the biggest percentage. And now you've talked about the recent children percentage that we have from the previous census.
Because the children were 50.5, then the youth were 22%.
So they are very critical. You will find that even on the catchment management organization, there is a post for someone who is representing them. So you find that when we are doing these action plans, they are also able to say something and be like, okay, we are doing this, but maybe we need to restore this. We would want to restore this, but the other wetland maybe is more degraded compared to the other one. And then they are also being as the agents of change. The ones that represent will go back and tell their fellow youth. They are like, we are doing this and this, but if you're cutting trees, you're not only hurting the government, but then you're also hurting us. If you're wasting water, for example, there are gravity flow schemes. You talked of Karamoja. In Karamoja, there is a regional office, and so far there is a Adresea project. It's focusing on the drought resilience. So we know we have drought in Karamoja, but what can we do to ensure that the Karamajongs, people in that region, can be able to survive. We can increase their resilience despite the drought, but how are they thriving? Can the students and the children keep going to school? Because we shall not close and be like, no, you're not going to school because of this and this. For example, the recent heat waves in Sudan, that was quite high that they had to close. But you see, it's an effect. Doesn't only affect the government, but it also affects the students. There is a lag. So these are some of the things that are being done to involve children. And I would like to assure you that the next Uganda Water and Environment Week, that will be the 8th. I'm very sure that what you saw, Grace, should I say, we are just starting. We are going to have more involvement. We've been in schools. You could ask schools around. We've been in schools doing campaigns. We are involving them. So I would say we are not yet there, but at least we are progressing.
But at least you have Grace in our school as an ambassador also for that. So next time, don't leave out our school. Okay, thank you, Victoria. You have heard from Victoria some of the interventions that the ministry is trying, the Ministry of Water and Environment is trying really to carry out around the country, which is very good for our people. I know, yes, that the issue of water, the way we call it, over water, over mazi, over akipi, na karamojong, OP in our language, in whatever language, we know that that issue is something which is really a matter of life and death. And that's why today we have come really to have this conversation, to see how we can really, we as the community, we as Ugandans, how can we help ourselves before even the government help us? And that's why we have this panel in place to represent our voices, to represent, at least send out messages to the government. So Grace, you've heard from Victoria some of the intervention that they have, and I know that Grace also is a leader of the Little Earth Soldiers, that she has organized even our group, and I think that you're doing something. I think the viewers also want to hear, as a child, they know, yes, you're representing us there. What are some of the interventions or some of the activities you're coming up with, maybe with your group, or with also some people that you reach out to? As you've been moving from Karamoja, you went to Kanungu. Is it Kanungu?
Yes.
Yeah, Kanungu. Because they want also to hear, there is a child there maybe who is listening to you, who is inspired by you, and he wants also to borrow a lift and start up something to contribute to the development of our country.
Okay, thank you so much once again. In the beginning, I was just trying to take time because I heard it's just a name and a few stuff.
Okay.
So maybe I can introduce myself now.
Okay then.
Like I said, Grace Stuart Ninsiima is my name. I'm an 11-year-old climate justice activist. I am an author of the Little Earth Soldiers book and the team lead of the Little Earth Soldiers. We have a behavior change campaign where we make briquettes to change people's mindsets from using charcoal and firewood to using briquettes, because you find that over 95% of Uganda's population actually relies on firewood and charcoal. We also have a tree planting project in Kanungu. And before I go any further, I would like to thank my grandpa. He has played actually a very, very, very big role. From the beginning, he has been there. And I think if you would want to talk to him, maybe the number can be displayed out later.
Yeah.
So I would like to thank you so much. And we also do community outreach programs where we go to slums. And I would like to say that you said that you're not yet there, but at least people know. But there is one question. These people, have they found it in school? Or there are people with the smartphones and are ever on Twitter listening to what is being displayed out? Because when I'm talking, I'm not talking from the elite perspective. I'm talking from the children, the last mile. Those in the slums, okay, like when we go in
Karamoja?
Not Karamoja. Let us talk about Kampala, the slums of Kampala.
The ghetto kids.
Yes.
Okay.
You find that these people that know actually have been invited, or they have heard, or they have been prepared in a sort of a way, or they have heard it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. One of those two.
Or TikTok.
Yes. But you're right. Actually, we have moved, because when you look at it 5 years back, it was bad. You would ask someone and they're like, what are you talking about? Like some people say, are you speaking in tongues? What are you talking about? Like, this is rocket science. But actually, we do these community outreach programs, spread awareness, and even do school outreaches where we are actually, let's say, teaching children through different arts like music, dance, drama, poetry, etc.
Okay.
That is what.
Wow, you've heard from Grace. You can also be a change maker like Grace, or you need to reach out to people if you want to learn. And I think also she's part of the Youth Go Green Climate and Children's Academy. She's there. You can also, if you want to join that campaign, you want to join the academy, she's available with the group. You can learn a lot from the Youth and Children Academy of Youth Go Green, as she's one of the product, and they have activities, they have programs that they are yet to do, and she will share with us next time we invite her here in this platform. Okay, with Vicky, I know that now, Grace, as you spoke of the policies in places, those are the institutional framework, and I know that with the Ministry of Water, they have some of the initiative or the intervention maybe in regards to the institutional framework that they're trying to come up with, or maybe they're trying also to maybe dialogue with the National Water and Sewage Corporation. As Grace said, that if at least they can try to reduce at least a smaller money. If it was a liter is 250, at least if they can put at 100, that everyone can afford. I think maybe Victoria can tell us what are the plans in regards to institutional framework, the policies that the ministry is coming up with.
Okay, thank you, Dickenz. If I'm to go to the institutional framework, you see that we shall start with the Uganda Constitution of 1995.
Yeah.
That one, it states it clearly that every Ugandan has a prerogative to clean and safe water. So if I'm to come from the Constitution, then I'll go to the National Water Policy of 1999.
Yeah.
It also talks about Ugandans having water then it also talks about the integrated approach to water use and sustainable management and all. Then I'll come to the Water Act of 1995. That's the CAP 152. This one, it says that it's government with the right to give people to use water. And for this case, I'm talking about the water in the lakes, the rivers, the groundwater. I'm not talking about the piped water that we get from National Water, I would say. Though still, National Water has licenses with the ministry to be able to supply water out there. Hope you get what I mean.
Yeah.
You talked about the access to water. As of 2000, we were around 61%, around that. But as of 2020, we were around 83% access of Ugandans to piped water and improved groundwater. So you see that change that I'm trying to talk about. And I believe that's 4 years back. And if we are to check the current statistics, there is still some improvement. We may not yet be there, but we are moving steadily. And then also if you're to use the water and you need water, let me say damming, diverting and all, we have permits which are licenses. You may not just go and get water from Lake Victoria or any other lake or the freshwater resources that we have or the river. You'll need to apply for a permit. This permit gives you a license. It gives you an opportunity for you to be able to access that water.
Does it have a duration, like the expiry?
It's not more than 5 years.
Not more than 5 years.
Basing on what you submit, you could get a year or 2 or 3, but it's not more than 5 years.
And also depends on someone's performance.
Exactly. Because we also have compliance to the permit standards. Like how all licenses and contracts they come with conditions. So you have to be compliant. But we don't leave you to maneuver it alone. We usually have compliance assistant. We guide you along the way. Okay, if you got the permit, what should you do to make sure that you're using this water sustainably and you're not affecting the environment? For example, there are sometimes that, let me say, there would be a proposed project, but basing on the environmental impact that it has, it will outweigh the financial gain. It may really have a lot of money, but you would wonder what is it leaving to the environment. So you will find that once the environmental and social impact assessment is done, we are not going to have that project. The project may have to be deferred because it has a very big impact on the environment. So I think that should be a way to show that the government is really caring, the ministry is caring about its water resources.
Okay.
We also have, you talked about the billing. You realize that once we are not using our water resources well, and the government, let me say national water, for this case the parastatal, is taking a lot of money in having to adjust the quality so that it can befit us. That's how the bills increase. Because national water, if it's going to use a lot of money in the treatment plants, different chemicals and all to treat this water, for it to be able to compensate and give us the water that is safe for us, the bills are going to increase. Now still it becomes a call to us as we are around these open water sources. Let's make sure we do what? We make sure we protect them. We don't have to contaminate them. For example, we have the water source protection planning. You know, they say if you want to get more milk from a cow, what do? You feed it well. You do all the good things so that the cow can give you more milk. So that's like what the water source protection planning is doing. That's what the ministry is doing. You have to make sure you've gotten a permit to use the water, but then we are still ensuring, we want to know how are you protecting the source. Because if you're not protecting the source, time will come and the source can't provide water for you anymore. You see, you don't have the water, you don't have the financial gain as well. So it's affecting you, it's affecting the environment. So we make sure that you have to protect the water resources so that you keep gaining from them. And also we should know, we see a lot of water around you, but we should know that the water is not really there. Sometimes someone may be like, I want to do this, why don't I get a permit? But there are so many users on that lake, there are so many users on that river, and adding another user can lead to a bad impact on that water source, you see. So you'll find that, no, you can't have this water. Or someone will say, I want to have 1,000 cubics per day. They're like, no, you can't have 1,000 because of this and this. So you see that the ministry is ensuring that even as we allocate and plan for these water resources, we have to make sure that this water is available for today and the future generation. It's not only us. We are ensuring that we have the sustainability component in it.
Wow. You've heard from Victoria really what the ministry is trying to do, and you should stop complaining that the government is doing nothing. The government is doing something. Even Grace told you the government is doing something. Okay, Grace, in regards to that, what are some of your calls to actions and your last remarks to the children there, the youth there, the old who are there listening to you and watching you on UCTV? Okay,
my last remarks would be that to the policy makers, you make the policies, please make sure that the people implement the policies. Before you start saying that, oh, we tried too much, did you actually say that there would be this punishment? If our neighboring countries like Rwanda and Kenya can do this, we can. Because there is nothing that they win us. It's not like the president is wiser. It's not like the president eats too much. It's not that the president is on a diet. We can, as long as we take it seriously, punishing all those that break the law. And making sure that these laws are actually implemented. Not only gaining the government. What do we, the people, get? Where is the point that you involve us? Because personally, I would be happy to be there on an advert teaching someone how to not waste water. Teaching a child how to brush their teeth, like showing them the leakage and how much it can cost. They can be like, Mama, I don't think you want to spend all this money. 50-liter jerry cans, you will need it. The ministry is trying to do something, only if they know. The ministry is trying to do something. Why don't we save it? Yeah, that would be my last remark.
You have had Grace remarks and the call to action. Okay, Let me listen to also from Vicky's side her remarks and the call to action for everyone, every Ugandan, not only Ugandan, even other people who are there watching us at the globe.
Thank you, Dickenz. My call to action would be to request Ugandans out there, all of us. Usually we may pin the responsibility to the leaders, but what are you doing as a person? Because this environment is for all of us, and we are all aware that with the climate change impacts, they have never segregated, that they're only looking at the leaders. When we have the flash floods, when we have the drought, it covers the entire area. What does that mean? It will mean that even you in your capacity, you can do something. You ensuring that you're not encroaching on your wetland. You're ensuring that you're protecting your water source. You're ensuring that you're doing tree growing. You're doing something in this environment. You're ensuring that you're doing proper solid waste management, garbage disposal in our homes. That's something that you're doing. And in the long run, it affects the entire environment. So it's a call to all of us in our different capacities, in our different careers, in the different skills that we have. We all have something that we can do to ensure that we protect our water resources and the environment of this country. Let's not leave it to the responsible institutions, but we, the citizens, are also critical stakeholders. It's something you should ponder on daily. How are you managing your waste? How are you managing your water? How long do you shower? Don't take like 30 minutes in the shower. Those are some of the ways we can conserve water. So to all of us, let's make sure that we love our environment, which includes the water resources, and let's love our country. If we work together, collaborate, make sure that we are involved, don't wait to be called upon by our leaders and the government, but take it as a personal initiative. I believe we shall have to strive, and we shall be able to get the goals that we have, and we shall have a better generation and country to come. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. I think Grace has something that he wants to address. Something before I close. Yes, Grace.
One more thing. I believe that we believe in God. Even the name of the TV itself, UCTV, Uganda Catholic Television. We believe in God. Before I go any further, firstly, I would like to thank my parents. Thank you for growing me in the way of God. And thank you for teaching me what I'm about to spread now, which applies mostly to my mother. We believe in God and we're fighting. Oh, let's collaborate, let's do this, let's do that. But without actually seeking God, when we do not seek God, the Bible says that He created the end and the time. He created the climate the way He wanted it. That means if we are fighting, it's actually in His hands. All our part is to act. After acting, we leave it to Him, then He will use the people to act. Because you're saying, oh, people, very carnal, oh, people, let's do this, let's do that. But if you do not add God in all of it, I do not think there is going to be any change.
Wow.
Because God is the author and finisher. He created the earth. Yeah. We are not the ones who said, let there be light. I want these birds here. Oh, the source that the UWEC is deriving from, it's God who created.
Yeah.
The source that everyone is fighting for, it's God who created. He's the provider. He's Jireh. So if we do not actually yield to Him, I don't think there's going to be any change. So that's what I would say.
Wow. Yes. So 1 minute. Okay.
Thank you, Grace, for that. You've talked about God. Thank you for saying that. I would also like to say, you realize in the Uganda Water and Environment Week, even the church is involved. You saw what the bishops and all were saying. So the water is not only about us, but okay, let's look at it in the aspect of the Bible, the aspect of the holy books, the aspect of this environment that God created and loved. At least if we won't do it for ourselves or for the government, let's do it for God, since we are all believers, I'll presume. So the ministry is involving all of us. The UWEC calls upon people from the CSOs, the NGOs, the Uganda Joint Christian Council, people from the other Muslim side and all. So they are all involved in ensuring that we can have the sustainable management of our resources.
Yeah. All right, you have heard from my panelists. Thank you very much for really listening to them and even viewing them and even articulating what really they have been sharing. You have heard how they are coming up with other projects. They are coming up, bring everyone together, inclusive of disability or what. They are really trying to do something. And that's why they are giving really a very big applause to the management of Uganda Catholic Television and also the Bishop to the Pope for coming up, because Uganda Catholic Television is the first TV station to come up with such a program for the youth discussing environment and climate change globally. And we can't just take this for just lightly. It's something that really we want to thank the management, we want to thank even the producers, the one on set, the one on the camera, everyone who have really made this show a beautiful. And we will always be here every Wednesday. Grace, you will always be the face of Vicky, please. Anytime you're welcome, anything you feel like you want to pass across or you want to tell the viewers, we are here every Wednesday. It will be here waiting for you so that we can digest this and everyone will really understand what the government is trying to do and also what the community is trying really to do to work with the government. So thank you, viewers. See you next time. If you have any comment, you have anything to say, please just drop it at the comment section at the YouTube, at our YouTube, UCTV YouTube page, or even you can follow us on Twitter, you can follow us on Facebook. We are all in social media, so you can drop your questions or your suggestions, how you want us to fine-tune the show, how you want us to do the show. You're most welcome with your suggestion. Some viewers, thank you very much for having you. Next time, see you on Wednesday.